Repair, repair, repair.
Very, very warm welcome to everybody to this morning program. We just witnessed a wonderful Abhishek of the Lordships. And today we continue this shout out of Imperial Parliament. So yesterday we found out Martin had 3 obstacles. Today
3.
we'll find out he's getting into Kanda and the 4th obstacle. So let's all chant once loudly Hare Krishna Mahamani.
Hare
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Are you sure? Let's do it again. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. That was pretty good. One more time. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. It looks like our audience expanded. That means there's some people here today that weren't with us yesterday, yes? Some people. Well, you got a little review, like super mini review of what we did yesterday. And then the day before that and the day before that, we had an introduction. And then we heard the first 4 verses where Hanuman has accepted from Jambavan the remembrance of his capacities, and his capacities are superhuman. And so he is going to ready himself. So then the next, he readies himself. And then next, he begins the journey. And it's very exciting. I mean, the detail is very sweet. For those of you who weren't with us, I recommend you go through and hear the recordings, because this is it. They're sequential. And it's not only chronological, it's quite logical. So yesterday evening, we heard the 3, among other things. There was some preliminary, but he then met 3 obstacles. One of those obstacles was an expression of gratitude by Samudra, who had received benefit, immense benefit from an ancestor of Ramachandra, King Sagara. And because Hanuman is the servant of Ramachandra, he wanted to reciprocate by making an arrangement so this long, can't hear. Better? You want her to do something? Oh, the sound in the back. Oh. Somebody knows how to make this behave properly? It's tilting. If I let go, it's going to fall over. Okay. So this is some little mini review from yesterday. the few days before yesterday. Mataji, is everything okay? You sure? You look like you're having some... Okay. I thought maybe you're having some medical calamity or something. Okay. Just checking. Samudra wanted to express his gratitude to the ancestor of Ramachandra, so he requested Mainaka, who also had received some benefit from Vayu, the father of Hanuman, to rise from the ocean, receive some nice refreshments and a little rest, because it's a long journey. 100 yojanas is a long journey. So take a little rest. Relax. We know that you have an important mission, but relax a little bit. It wasn't just no. It was very polite. Thank you, but no thank you. So he made some very nice gesture that satisfied both Samudra and Mainaka. And off he went. That was obstacle number one. When you or someone before you has done something wonderful and something wonderful comes to you because of something somebody else did or even something you may have done, then some reciprocation, to not be indulgent in, be respectful, but don't be indulgent in some gesture that comes your way. You know, the fruits of piety, or previous persons and their piety, to not be indulgent. Respectful. Then next, Shurasa. It's just, those of you that know Ramayana, it's just like 1, 2, 3. It's so simple. She, the Naga goddess at the bottom of the sea, was requested by Indra to rise from the bottom of the sea and test the competence. First was character, then competence of Hanuman. And sure enough, she tested his competence, and sure enough, he showed his competence. He got bigger, she got bigger, she got bigger, he got bigger, he got bigger, and then all of a sudden small and entered her mouth. He came out her ear and said, okay, the promise, the benediction that you received from Lord Brahma. That's our neighbor or something? Or something. It's kirtan. Just pretend it's kirtan. Not really kirtan, but we'll pretend. Wow. Urban temples. Okay. So, she, Shurasa, the Naga goddess, transformed into her goddess form and gave benedictions to Hanuman. Well done, well done. She offered praises to him for his competence, and off he went to the next obstacle. The next obstacle was a nasty, wasn't friendly at all. It was vicious. Simhika. And she wanted to devour him. Yummy. Devour a monkey, a vanara. So he entered her mouth and ripped out her heart and finished her. Bloody mess all over the place. And off he went. And so that's where we ended yesterday. Now, there were some people that came up afterwards for, I don't know why people wait till the end after class to come and ask questions when it's time to do something else. But I said we could take those questions from yesterday, first thing this morning. So those of you that were asking questions last night and would like to pose them first thing before we begin part 5, please raise your hand. You were one of those? Okay. Give this young man a microphone. Look at that. There's the microphone. Yes, Simhika. She's one of the what? Envy personified. Stand next to Hanuman. Because when you're with a person who has no pride, although they're capable, competent like anything, because that was being tested, his competence. So he wasn't. How you can overcome is by being in the mood of service, and the person who's in the mood of service doesn't, amanina, manadena. They want to offer respect to others and no expectation of respect for themselves. You know that verse? Shikshastika 3, you know it? You're familiar. Okay. So you take shelter of such persons or instructions from such qualified persons. And in the mode of service mode will always protect you. And then there's the mood, the subset of that service mood. You want to offer service to everyone with respect, and you're not expecting any respect in return. Now that's a spiritual position. So how do you overcome envy? That's your question. By the spiritual position in the mode of service. And Krishna will protect you. Supposing you're like 50% and 50%. You're not there yet. Supposing. Most of us aren't there yet. So there's going to be some tendency, the 50% tendency that's there. But here's the good news. Krishna will protect you. You know the verse from Bhagavad Gita? Apichat Sudaracharo Bhajate Mamananyabhak. You know the verse? I'll say it slowly. Apichat Su Dur Achar. Achar means behavior or conduct. Dur Achar means bad behavior. Su Dur Achar is very bad behavior. And even if you or somebody has some contamination, and because of that contamination, like envy, some bad behavior comes out, Krishna, the next verse, Krishna says he'll correct that tendency. Krishna says, I consider that person to be sadhu, and he helps the course correction. Supposing that the 50% or whatever the percent, some envy is there in your heart, and somebody does something really nice, and you're feeling envy towards that person that does something really nice, whatever that is. Krishna, from within your heart, he knows the 50% that's sincere, and he'll help you. He'll tap you on the shoulder and say, really? Are you sure? And you'll go, oh, I did it again. My envy came out. And then you feel regretful. And then you do the course correction. Krishna will be the intelligence, and he'll give you protection. That's the how-to. Stay in the association of devotees that are headed in the right direction, wholesome persons headed in the right direction, and you'll be okay. You know, sincere and in good, wholesome association. And Krishna will help you. Go it alone, good luck. Means you won't be successful. But in association with a sincere, you know, the question itself is a sincere question. So that's already there. Then stay in good association, and Krishna will help you. Supposing it gets like, doesn't get checked right away, it gets like a fire. And you feel it's getting really hot around here because my envy is taking hold of me. You know, then that's super soul providing intelligence, letting you know you got off track. So then you go into this nice pause space. You reflect, what's going on here? Oh, look at this, it's happening again. So it's like your mind has misbehaved. The super soul is reminding you, your mind is misbehaved again. And I'm not going to slap you, but I'm going to remind you, oh, thank you. And you feel very regretful. This is a nice teaching, Bhaktivinoda Thakur teaching. When a Vaishnava like you feels regret for some mistake, like envy or something, that's purification. Regret for a Vaishnava is purification. And then when they're feeling that regret, you do the course correction. You compensate for that, whatever it was that wasn't right. And stay in good association, wholesome association. Always, always, always. And the kind, wholesome ones, they'll, besides super soul within, they'll tap you on the shoulder and say, what are you doing? What's going on with you? Oh, I did it again. Thank you for reminding me. And because you're not resentful, you're thankful. If you start feeling resentful, then you got a really big problem. Kindness from a wholesome person, and you feel resentful. Big problem. Okay, there was someone else yesterday. There were a couple of someone else's.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah. So Maharaj, humble ourselves.
There's a babbling child. Can somebody deal with the babbling child? Go ahead.
Please accept my humble ourselves, Maharaj.
A little louder.
Okay. Maharaj, I wanted to ask that, is Hanuman expansion of Lord Shiva?
Is Hanuman an expansion of Lord Shiva? What books are you reading?
Because in many time in India, people have understanding, that's why I asked.
Oh, show me where that is in Shastra, please. That's what you say when somebody says that.
Sure.
Is there any scriptural authority behind? What is that scriptural authority, please? He's an eternal associate of Ramchandra. He's not an expansion of somebody. Eternal associate. Anyone else? There was one other person. Who's the one other person? Okay, we're ready to move forward. The other person is shy or they aren't here or something. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Om Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Okay, so we're, Krishna. So we're moving on, hopefully. Cooperate, please. And the next slide, if it's going to cooperate, it's not going to cooperate. My computer sometimes gets a mind of its own. I'm going to just close this down. Maybe I'll close it down. Oh, Govinda. There. Govinda. It's not cooperating. Let's see what happens. See if I can close it. It won't let me even close it. One more time. There's the repair button. You hear that bing? That means any modification I made, it just got it deleted. That's what that ping means. I'm going to fix it. Krishna permitting. Okay, here we go. Hanuman lands in Lanka. Now, one of the things that was to be changed was the scene as he enters is in a mountainous area, Trikuta. And this doesn't show, it shows the mountains outside the city, but in any case, Hanuman is landing in Lanka. That's the scene, first scene for this midday. After almost reaching the other shore means in Lanka, from where he started, Hanuman looked in all directions. He saw an island decorated by a variety of trees. He saw rivers merging into the ocean. And right after, so he's entering Lanka, what did he do next? So this is a verse directly, in my editing I found the verse, but it didn't save it. Hare Krishna. Hanuman, you see Vita Moha in bright letters, you see? Vita Moha. Hanuman, capable of assuming many different forms, who cannot be defeated by enemies, who achieved the impossible task of crossing the ocean, contracted its huge mountain-like body and assumed his normal form. And his normal form isn't as big as a mountain. A realized sage takes up his constitutional nature after giving up moha, or delusion. So now, back to your question about envy. Did Hanuman have delusion? Did he have moha? You know what moha means? That's moha. Did he have any? No. So why is it saying that? He doesn't have any. He didn't have any to give up, so how could he give it up? Lord Vishnu returned to his original form. This is speaking of Vamana. It's not that Hanuman is Vishnu. Hanuman is an expansion of Lord Shiva either. He's an eternal associate of Ramchandra. But just as the personality of Godhead, Vamana assumed this gigantic form. Now, how big was his form? It was really big form, because one of his 2 paces poked a hole through the universe. That's a big form. That's bigger than universal form. Bigger than the universal form. Bigger than the universe. And then he went back to his normal little dwarf size, defeating the Fowler of Bali. So Hanuman, had shape-changing abilities and size-changing abilities. And we already heard this yesterday. How big did his body become? 100 yojanas. That's huge. 100 yojanas, 800 miles. 800 miles. He assumes his regular form, giving up moha. He wasn't deluded. His deluding potency. It's a mystic power. He's not a multiple-sized entity. He can create facilities by his mystic powers. That's what mystics do. Persons that have mystic powers, they're just one entity, but they can exhibit and they can withdraw. So he withdrew. That's the meaning. So now he's surveying the scene, and it's a very nice description of what he sees. Hanuman's huge body contracted to his original form after performing the Herculean task of crossing the ocean and arriving in Lanka. Likewise, know how this applies to us. If you remember back from the stuff, those of you who were not with us for the first day, there are different elements in the composition of Ramayana, verse by verse. And one of those is, built into the verse, there's some lessons. There's a wonderful storyline, the beautiful language portraying the storyline, and then built into the language that portraying the storyline, there's lessons of life. A little sharing, it's a little on the side. I spent 14 classes discussing a skinny little book that Prabhupada, the first book that he wrote. It didn't get published till many years later, it's Light of the Bhagavad. And the reason I'm telling you this is Prabhupada had the same expertise that Valmiki has. Valmiki is taking simple, and from the simple, giving truths. The situation was, 1972. I think it was 1972. Prabhupada was living in Vrindavan, commuting back and forth a little bit to Delhi, distributing his fortnightly Back to Godhead. It wasn't a magazine, it was just little stapled together pages. He was preaching to people in Delhi. And he was doing 2 things, taking up the example of his founder, his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, preaching in little booklet form. And he was searching for persons who could help him publish the Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1, because he didn't have any money. But people he would meet may have money, and they may appreciate who he is, what he's doing. And so he was fishing, or searching for potential donors for Bhagavatam. And when he was in Delhi, one gentleman gave him a flyer from another gentleman in Tokyo. The person in Tokyo, after World War II, and things settled down and, relations got a little bit normalized, he was planning a conference, and the conference was called Congress for the Cultivation of the Human Spirit. What does that mean? Anything you want, if that's what it means. It's a big envelope and you can put practically anything. And so Prabhupada wrote a letter to the fellow, the organizer of the event, because you could get visas now to go to Japan, because they were part of World War II. But now they're allowing visas for people to come from other countries. So Prabhupada wrote to the organizer and asked, can you write a letter of invitation, so with that letter of invitation I can get a visa to go to Japan? And so the fellow wrote the letter, an invitation letter, nice letter, with a formal letterhead. And Prabhupada never went because he didn't have money to get a visa or a passport or the airfare. He didn't go, but he wrote a book that he wanted to present at when you go to a conference, you give a paper and then you speak what the paper is. It's standard. For those of you that know a little bit about academia, there's something you speak from a podium and something that you circulate that's supporting a more expanded version of what you say at the podium or the lecture place. And he selected, appropriate for the audience, he selected a topic that he thought people in the Far East would appreciate, which is learning lessons of life from scenes of nature. Because it's part of Oriental culture, Far East, lessons of life learned from nature. And people are like that. It's true. I've learned that from visiting China. It's people, they relate to it. So Valmiki is also such an author, and Valmiki, is taking the story of Ram and giving lessons from something that's wonderful, enchanting, charming story, easy to remember, easy to repeat. Child can learn it and recite it back, and it's ABC simple. But built into the ABC simple are important lessons. And one of those important lessons is on the screen here. The journey of a sadhaka, that means us, may seem onerous. Onerous means difficult. The ideal is fantastic, but then you settle down and start to do the real, and the real doesn't seem to match the ideal. Like it's not easy. It seems that for the exercise of sadhana bhakti to get to the stage of prema bhakti, it's a long journey, isn't it? But that's what we're meant to do. That's why it's there. It's to get us to that destination. Once one regains one's original spiritual form and constitutional nature, the onerous task of turning one's attention towards Krishna becomes natural and no longer arduous. That's what's speaking of the stage of spontaneous devotional service. This is Rupa Goswami's teachings in a nutshell. Another topic, but we're doing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and to follow all the vidhis and always cross the T's and dot the I's and do everything the way there should be done every day. It can be challenging sometimes. Different periods of time or what age of life or circumstances, difficulties. You know how it is. So, but you continue with faith and purification from sadhana bhakti. What happens? Bhajana kriya, what happens? Anarjana vritti. And when it becomes more than just almost completely gone, but completely gone, then it comes to the spontaneous stage. Bhava bhakti. beyond sadhana bhakti. So bhava, sadhana is meant to take us to bhava. And when bhava is there, it's no longer arduous, it's ecstatic. Same activities, ecstatic. When the sadhana stage, it may seem like difficult. It's okay. Feel difficult, that's okay. Keep going. With the confidence that's going to get you to the stage where it's spontaneous. It's no longer arduous. Whoops. Here we go. The arduousness is giving up moha. Hanuman gave up his moha. No, he didn't have delusion. But the delusion was, now I'm really big, now I'm really small. It was convenient for the purpose of crossing the ocean and getting past Simhika and all of that. Now he's in Lanka. So now it's the deluding feature of his mystic power is withdrawn, and he's this little Hanuman. The arduousness is in giving up moha, the false conceptions of happiness and identity that a living being, living entity has been holding for several lifetimes. The lure for independent enjoyment is very strong. It's like built into every species of life, including human species. It's just a strong tendency to be the enjoyer of the temporary. And it doesn't go away so easily. That's the onerousness. But continue because it becomes spontaneous in course of time. It's the wholesome, natural, healthy position. Stay with it. Okay. Then what are we supposed to do? Because we're not Hanuman. Far from it. Well, fortunately for us, we have Bhagavad Gita. Nice verse. Those of you that know the verse, you can say it with me. It's on the screen. Yesham tvantakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandvanirhamo mukta bhajente mam dridhavrita. Slightly different translation, but those whose sins have been destroyed by actions pleasing to great souls, punya karma, who are free of this ignorance arising from duality, worship me with determination. So there's steps to get to being determined. But we take steps to get to where we want to go. We're not there yet. We take steps to get to where we want to go. And this free from delusion, we're spending a fair amount of time just on this one word, moha. But, that's Hanuman, and we're learning lessons from Hanuman. So what is this delusion, freedom from delusion? It comes to us by descending mercy, by good association. Where's our there we go. By good association, right? Sadhu Sangha. Some unwanted something inside, whatever it might be. Sadhu Sangha. And then service to those sadhus that we have been blessed with so many devotees to associate with and to serve. Like too much service, right? But that's okay. We'll never be done with service. Just keep serving. So here's the step-by-step breaking down that nice verse from Bhagavad Gita with different language. Antakatam papam, the sins are destroyed by the merciful glance of a sadhu. By punya karmana, that's pious, pleasing activities in relation to such sadhus, one gains their mercy and simultaneously worships Krishna. Now, this worship, according to Hari Bhaktivilas, traditionally will take place after mantra diksha. But it certainly can, there's the preliminary. It's not like we're not becoming freed from contamination before initiation. It's just preliminary, and then becomes more complete and fixed. By further association, one gets steadiness. These are the stages of bhakti, dhridavrata. Thereafter, one becomes freed from dualities. Now that we just went through, that's Baladev Vidyabhusan's breaking down of the verse, 728 Bhagavad Gita. We're spending time on it because it's important. Look at this, here's some more, freedom from delusion. In Bhakti Sundara, the same topic is dealt with. Bhakti Sundara is one of the Sundarbas of Jiva Goswami, that a devotee needs these two things. What are the two things? Association and service. If you want to know where the references are, it's right on the screen. Bhakti Sundara, you can look it up later. But this is now some commentary from 9th Canto Bhagavatam. The results obtained by service is superior to that of prasanga or association. Why? When you're in association with sadhus, you'll hear their sound vibration. You'll hear their realizations. And hearing the realizations from a sadhu is more pleasing to Krishna than trying to serve Krishna. So Krishna likes, please remember, association with and service to sadhus is more pleasing to Krishna than trying to serve Krishna. And this is one scriptural reference, but there's multiple such scriptural references. This is 9th Canto, Krishna speaking this verse, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Okay. Now that we spent a long time on one verse, and we didn't even tell you what the number was, but we will later. I'll fix it, hopefully. So Hanuman landed on a peak of a mountain. Now there's multiple mountains in Lanka. Now it's kind of flat, but then there were some mountains. And he started looking around. Hanuman, when he landed, he shook the earth so much, the trees that had many flowers showered flowers on him. So it looked like a big party. Welcome, Hanuman. Here's some greeting of flowers showered upon you. Just as the hero is welcomed after a victorious journey. Look at, here's the next verse. Shriman Hanuman, who was the best of heroic persons, even though crossing 100 yojanas was without a loss of breath or tiredness. He had good physical fitness, right? He was a yogi. Shriman. So this is now taking the words of that verse. Shriman means one who is favored by Shri. Who's Shri? Goddess of fortune, the internal potency. Anyone favored by Shri is Shriman. Opulent. Hanuman is called Shriman because he carried the opulence of the service to Sri Ram. And from that one came many other opulences. The fortune of observing the internal mood of Sri. And Srila Prabhupada was like that also. So Shriman became Srila. Anyone whose activities, thoughts, and words is driven, should be driven by the mood of service is called Shriman. Therefore, we address Srila Prabhupada as, should be Shriman, Srila Prabhupada. We need some editing work, but we can't save anything until she fixes it. There's a nice devotee in America, but they're actually now in India taking Ayurvedic treatment, and they prepared all of these. credit where credit is due, right? And, there's some editing and so forth that Shamakund is doing, but someone else they're carrying the mountain on their shoulder. They're good at it. But this particular version, they need some correction, I can't correct it. The actual city of Lanka was situated on the peak of Mount Trikuta. Lanka resembled Amaravati, the capital city of Indra. Why? Well, before it was Lanka in the care of Ravana, who did it belong to? Kuvera. Why is it that treasurers have opulence? Can't figure it out. But somehow the treasurer of heaven, he was really opulent, and his place was as opulent as Indra's place. Yes. Lanka looked like it was being encircled by the ocean waves, just like a garland of flowers. There were auspicious, beautiful trees within and surrounding Lanka city. These trees that gave fruits and flowers in all seasons were in gardens surrounded by ponds. So this sounds like Vrindavan. The city was encircled by a golden boundary wall. Ravana liked gold. Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, they liked gold too. But the next generation, he liked gold. Protected by Rakshasas with horrifying features. Want to get scared? Sharp teeth, spikes and spears in their hands, and very rough voices. Look at that fellow guarding the entryway into one of the buildings. Shh. Don't mess with that fellow. The boundary wall was surrounded by moats filled with lotuses and water lilies. Within the golden boundary wall, the houses of the city were like skyscrapers. Big. The streets were white and decorated with flags and golden-hued archways. The tall white building in the city of Lanka, which itself was situated on the top of a mountain, appeared as if it was a city floating in the sky. Very poetic language. Valmiki says, this is Valmiki's language, Lakshmivan. Hanuman was fortunate to reach Lanka, which was under the jurisdiction of Ravana. The word Lakshmivan is significant. It indicates Lakshmivan, one who possesses Lakshmi. Before entering into Lanka, Hanuman had never seen anything like this before. Favored by Lakshmi or Sita, without her favor, he couldn't have come to Lanka. So the journey, arduous, the sadhana journey is sometimes arduous, but made possible by mercy. And especially if you get mercy of the goddess of fortune. And Bhakti Devi, who is Bhakti Devi anyways? Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Radharani. Did you know that? Radharani has many expansions. Just as Krishna has many expansions. She has many expansions. And one of those many expansions is Bhakti Devi. So you get the mercy of Bhakti Devi, you get the mercy of Radharani. And when you have the mercy of Radharani and Bhakti Devi, the impossible becomes possible. So Lakshmivan. In our own lives, when we seem so far away from achieving the perfection of spiritual life, the seemingly baby steps that we take, should also be plural, are also like Hanuman crossing the ocean. So it takes faith. Bhakti begins with faith, yes? You know the verse? Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. You know the verse? Any of our youth know the verse? The 9 stages of bhakti. There's little education. Sounds like a cement mixer. It's what? Kitchen exhaust. Sounds like a cement mixer. There are Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's just education time. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a book on bhakti by Rupa Goswami, because Rupa Goswami received teachings about bhakti from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like A to Z, everything. And so there's 2 verses that describe the stages of bhakti. That's what I was just asking, see if some of our younger generation people know. It's 2 verses. And again, those 2 verses became a whole book. Madhurya Kandambani, just stages of bhakti. And we're all doing, so it's good to know what we're doing and the stage that we're in and how to go, what's the previous, what's the next. You know, where's the train going when you get on the train? What's the destination? And what are the steps to get there? So faith is the beginning. Here's a nice teaching. Although there's 9 stages of bhakti that have different labels or names, another way that the author describing those 9 stages is just different stages of faith. Say it again. Faith, 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 faith. Count up to 9 stages of faith. And the mature stage is prema. It's just the mature stage of faith. So bhakti is starting with faith and then growing the faith. And then one of the very preliminary ways of growing faith, Krishna sees, oh, here's somebody that has some faith. Let me send them some association, sadhu sangha, so that faith can grow. I like Prabhupada's stories. Here's a Prabhupada story on the topic of faith. Morning walk, Vrindavan. Many of you have been to Vrindavan. How many have not been to Vrindavan? Few hands. Okay. May you one day, soon, this year if possible, make your journey to Vrindavan. Go in association, because that'll help you have the right kind of experience. And when Srila Prabhupada started ISKCON Vrindavan, he selected a property that was outside Vrindavan town. And at that time, outside Vrindavan town meant agricultural fields. And so the temple was like remote from where all the other action was, but he knew what he was doing. Rest assured, he knew what he was doing. And he had wanted sufficient land, so it was a little bit outside the city. And then every morning, as he did in many places, he would go for a morning walk. And his morning walk was, you could set your watch or your clock or your anything. It's 6 o'clock. He walked from his room, from his quarters, and then go out past the front gate, make a right-hand turn. Those of you that have been to Krishna Balaram Mandir, just picture in your mind, out the front gate and make a right. And what was across the street wasn't all those shops that you see today. It was just agricultural fields in all directions. In all directions, just agricultural fields. And just went for a long walk. And it's at the right time, turn around, so that he could enter the temple in time for greeting the deities. So one morning, I somehow managed to get on the morning walks. So one morning, there were very few people on that morning walk. And as we were approaching the gate area, not really close, but enough, the Prabhupada looked around and said, "Where are the devotees?" And you could hear the kirtan. They were at the gate having kirtan, waiting for Prabhupada to come and, Haribol and all that. And someone politely said, "Prabhupada, they're at their gate. Can you hear the kirtan? They're waiting for you to return." And that wasn't his point. His point is, where are the devotees? That when there's opportunity, then he made this 2 points. When there's opportunity for physical association, you should take it. Where are the devotees? We went on a morning walk. There should be devotees here. That was his point. Then he made 2 other points. He said, when there's physical association, there's going to also be vani. Vapu means there will be vani. And supposing there isn't vapu, then there's vani. Even when there's vapu, the vani is more important. They looked around to make sure it registered. And then he said, and the purpose of vani is to increase faith. You hear me? The purpose of vani is to nourish or increase faith. And he made a motion like this with his hand. Preaching means you see a spark and you fan the spark. That's preaching. We just hand motion. Fan the spark. And if one is a very expert preacher, that spark becomes a flame, becomes a blaze. And his eyes got really big. And he looked around and continued walking back to the gate, just like he was giving lessons as he was living, giving his association to us, the perambulatory Srimad Bhagavatam. And just being with him was getting Srimad Bhagavatam over and over and over and over and over and saturating you with Srimad Bhagavatam and Katha. So the Katha is to nourish faith, or the Vani is to nourish faith. So faith means then there's a call to action, including hearing. And when you hear, what do you do once you've heard? You do something in relation to the source that you've heard from, and as well as the direction to move in your life. That's this fan, the spark becomes a flame. Nice lesson. Whoops, I went the wrong direction. Sorry about that. But behind that enormous leap, this is Hanuman, the blessings of the internal energy, Hare, that's Srimati Radharani, is Hara, in the vocative is Hare, whom we call out during japa. When the consort of the Supreme Lord witnesses our intention, back to the sincerity of purpose again, she blesses us to perform tasks beyond our capability so that we can receive her mercy further. It's good in a humble mood to try to accomplish mission impossible. We do it all the time. Just like preparing for this seminar with all of you. It's like there's a whole team of people doing mission impossible. While we're sitting here enjoying, the slides that need some editing, they can't editing because some problem with the technology. Traveling further, Hanuman reached the northern gate and had a further close-up view of Lanka, which was once occupied by Kuvera. Now, the relationship between Kuvera and Ravana is they were cousins, or stepbrothers, that's the right word. They had the same father, different mother, stepbrother. And, Kuvera was appointed the position of the treasure of heaven. And Ravana didn't care anything. So he attacked his stepbrother and stole his city and stole the conveyance that he was also given. the Pushpaka Vimana, the airship that could travel without a steering wheel. And poor Kuvera. He's got a very nasty stepbrother. Lanka was now occupied by horrible demons, holding tridents and spears in their hands. The city appeared like a cavern, protected by venomous serpents with protruding fangs. Hanuman examined the high security of Lanka, the natural protection of the ocean, and everything else to protect it, and began to consider. So now this is important. Supposing you reach a certain stage in the execution of sadhana bhakti, what's next? So a thoughtful person is thoughtful. That the person that's not thoughtful just acts impulsively. So let's learn from Hanuman how to not act impulsively. It is not possible for monkeys to come here. Even if they do, Lanka cannot be impregnated even by the demigods if they were to attack it. What will Ram, the mighty armed hero, do even after reaching this formidable city of Lanka, ruled by Ravana? There's no scope for reconciliation with demons, so he's thinking like a chess game, 10 steps ahead. Bhaktisiddhanta used to use this kind of a metaphor. He would sometimes use a metaphor that unintelligent people only think what's in front of their nose. And a thoughtful person is thinking many steps ahead. That Hanuman is like that. So what I do next, because he's paving the way for Ram to come and redeem Sita, he doesn't want to mess up. He has to do it properly. Enter undetected and not make a big splash. Now, later he modified his, made a big splash to warn them, Ram's coming, you guys are going to catch it. But initially, he just wanted to find Sita, relay Ram's message to Sita, comfort Sita. He didn't even know if she was still alive. He didn't know. Somebody said she's over there, but who knows? These are Rakshasas. Who knows? So reconciling, not possible. No scope for reconciliation with demons. Winning them over with gifts, they're already so opulent. Dividing them by dissension. Winning them over by war, they're already powerful. So what's the next step? He's considering options and ruling some out. Only 4 great monkeys have access to this place. Angada, he had visited Lanka. Nila, Sugriva, and myself. I don't know whether Janaka's daughter, Sita, Vaidehi, is alive or not. After seeing her, I shall then think the next course of action. So it's one step at a time, and thinking several steps ahead of that one step. That's the thoughtfulness of a person like Hanuman. So now how to find Sita? Remaining unseen. How to achieve the goal. So now, what are my options to achieve that? What's the next deliberation? In my present form, not as large as when he jumped, but not so short, I shall not be able to enter the city guarded by fierce and powerful demons. Let me assume an inconspicuous form and enter the city at night, as that is the appropriate time. So step by step by step by step. It's instructive. We have Mission Impossible. You don't just jump or just fools rush in. You know that statement, when angels fear to tread. Looking at the city, unassailable even to gods and demons, Hanuman sighed again and again, thinking, by what means can I find the daughter of Janaka, Mithili, without being noticed by the evil-minded Ravana and his many, many spies? How can the purpose of Ram be not spoiled? Just as darkness disappears at sunrise. Well-planned strategies also fall at the hands of a thoughtless messenger when they're set in opposition to proper time and place. So it's he's meticulous, isn't it? When you have a challenge to meet, it's good to be thoughtful. Don't be foolish. Even though messengers are not intelligent, they think themselves clever and capable. They act foolishly, swerve from the proper course of action, and fail in their effort. So he's not going to do that. How should the task be performed? How to avoid impetuousness? How can my purpose of crossing the ocean not be wasted? Even if I take the guise of a demon, I'll be easily identified. Even wind cannot move freely here in Lanka without being detected. If I am seen by the demons, the plan of Ram to kill Ravana will be wasted. If I were just to hide in my original form, it will be found out, and I'll be killed, and Ram's mission will also not be satisfied. So he's looking at lots of options and ruling out a number of them. Now he's smiling. Hanuman is extremely circumspect. A person who has control over the tongue and speech deliberates before uttering or acting. So this is, entering into this mode of goodness, pause, reflect, consider carefully, what's the next step I should be taken? He doesn't have somebody holding his hand. He's the messenger, and he has to be intelligent. Hanuman is that acharya who not only questions himself, but tries to get the best service to be done for Lord Ram. Never be complacent. So it's similar to like what Prabhupada, when he came to another country, he was thinking it's going to be like this, and it was the opposite. Big challenge. How to meet the big challenge. After this third deliberation, Hanuman reduced himself at night to the size of a small cat. Wonderful to behold. He jumped and entered the royal path of the beautiful city. Look at this. This artwork is really incredible. From Mount Lamba, that's where he first landed, he saw the outline of the city. Now he's walking around, and we're going to hear some of the details of what he sees. The city stretched with rows of buildings all over, 7 or 8 storied mansions, which had pillars of gold and silver, windows with fretwork of gold inlaid with crystals, floors decorated with gold, resembling the grand city of the Gandharvas, inlaid with precious gems and fretwork. What's fretwork? Like intricate designs, artwork designs on a fresco or side. And ornamented with pearls. The mansions of demons look splendid. The gold archways of the demons were colorful. They illuminated the well-decorated Lanka from all sides. These jewels embedded in the walls and in the gold. They didn't need lamps. Ravana had all of his lamps have large diamonds next to the light source. When the lamps were lit, the diamonds reflected light all over his palace. You get the picture. This is an opulent place. During the day, the diamonds would glitter because of sunshine, and his entire palace would glisten because of profuse diamonds in various places in the palace. So question, what's this thing of glorifying the opulence of Ravana's kingdom? And one of the explanations given is The opulence itself is not harmful, but opulence misused, that's harmful. So it's the consciousness behind, it's not the opulence. So people were in awe of the opulence, but then got godless. In Lanka, people apparently followed the Vedic culture, but without God in the focus. Still, Lanka was opulent. Sometimes we have this way of thinking. Somebody that's opulent due to past piety or something, and how the demons were so opulent. Well, they followed rituals and practices and observances that made them opulent because that's what they wanted. Godless opulence. One's past activities can give opulence in one's present life, but the present disposition can be demoniac. Sometimes one may think that a scriptural text should only have verses describing the Lord, and that descriptions of places like Lanka is a waste of time. Well, there's a lesson. However, such descriptions are meant to indicate that the opulence of the material world is but a fraction when compared to the supreme absolute. Now, here's a photograph that I like a lot. This is part of it is cropped out. This is Bhaktisiddhanta riding around Vrindavan in a convertible when there weren't convertibles. Cars were just becoming fashionable. You know, you had the crank thing in the front to get it started. They didn't have starters in those cars. Okay. Good luck. I don't think they're going to care, but maybe they will. How are we doing with time? I mean, I'm supposed to end and go over here, isn't it? It's now 11:45. What time am I supposed to stop? 11:45, right? It's like 17 minutes to 12. We're going to have an abrupt ending. Fasten your seatbelt. We're going to come in for a landing. And we'll continue sometime later, Krishna permitting. So this is a nice photograph I like, so I'm going to explain it. Sannyasis are not supposed to ride in palanquins. Sannyasis are supposed to walk barefoot. Sannyasis are not supposed to wear sewn garments. Bhaktisiddhanta is wearing sewn garments and not only riding a conveyance, but it's a convertible. There were no convertibles. He had one special made. And what he would do is he would have his driver, this nice Bengali fellow sitting in the front seat, and he would wave to people driving through the streets of Vrindavan. You know, his message was Yukta Vairagya. The opulence isn't the problem. It's the consciousness behind the opulence, behind the utilization of the opulence. That's where everything lies, consciousness. And the Krishna conscious person can use anything, everything, when properly used for the pleasure of Krishna. So Bhaktisiddhanta, wanted to make a point, the Yukta Vairagya point. It's Rupa Goswami's teaching. What's the teaching? Who knows the verse? Who knows the verse besides Shamkund? Anybody in the audience know the verse? Yes, what's the verse? Loud, give this young man a microphone. Say it slowly and clearly so everyone can hear. Anasakta Shivishayan.
Anasaktasya Vishyan Yataram Upayunjataha Nirbande Krishna Sambande Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate.
Okay. So it means those Hari Sambandha, things that are in relation to Hari Sambandha, they're not to be given up because they're not ours to give up. They're Haris, they're Krishnas. Rather, they're not to be given up, they're meant to be yukta vairagya, given in service with detachment to Hari. So that's Rupa Goswami's teaching of what renunciation isn't and what renunciation is. There's this statement at the bottom. So Hanuman was teaching the same, and he saw the opulence. He wasn't charmed by it at all, because he knew behind it was godlessness. He stayed focused. What was his focus? Find Sita. Deliver Ram's message to Sita. Reassure Sita. Ram is coming. Ram is coming. I'm his messenger. And, he had to win her trust. We're going to hear. He was so intelligent. What do? If you're a monkey and you want to reassure Sita that you're not, some spooky guy trying to trick her. He just sang the glory. Hanuman, sang the glories of Ramachandra so sweetly, so beautifully. And she heard the glories of Ramachandra, and her ears perked up and her heart started jumping. Where is this voice coming from? And she looked up in the tree and she saw a little monkey. And that was his cue to then jump down from the tree and do other things. So it's like so beautiful, so beautiful. But we'll go there. Hopefully we'll get there before I go on to the next place, Sundara Kanda. Now, I'm supposed to end. And let me take a question or two. Let's take 2 questions. Anybody would like to raise a question? I see 2 hands up in the back. I see 3 hands. You see hands that I didn't see. I see 4.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. My question is, you were mentioning that one service to devotees is more pleasing to the Lord than hearing the realization of devotees. So how does, if one's psychophysical nature is to hear, I'm only talking about myself, hear the realization of devotees, so how does one convert that into a way that's pleasing to the Lord?
Yeah. No, then her serving him. Yeah.
But serving is not easy.
Oh, I'm sorry. But there's no such thing. When you hear, the heart jubilates. When you hear, the heart jubilates. You know what that means, right? Like dances. How you go? So, and that transforms naturally into some service. There's you, there's the hearing, and there's the object. And Krishna is the object that you're hearing about. And the jubilation of heart comes from the hearing. And you want to do something in relation to Krishna. You say psychophysical nature is blocking it. Not psychophysical nature is blocking it. It's natural. It's healthy. It's wholesome. It's not psychophysical nature is blocking it. No. Supposing I'm lame and I can't dance, or supposing something. So the expression may be different for one person and the next person. That's okay. But some expression of service according to my capacity. Now I'm looking around the room and we have some older generation people here. And with the older generation people, maybe you can't dance, but they can clap, and they can, express themselves according to their limitations of capacity. But it's not. Something is going to happen. If the hearing is going on, something's going to happen. Transformation of heart, something's going to happen. Okay. So who, you have the microphone. Who's next? I did the same 4 hands. Short and sweet, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hanuman, when was deliberating, the first deliberation,
He's got to pay attention. Prabhu, let him pay, because he's my relay. Go ahead.
the first deliberation, it appears that there was a doubt on the strength of Lord Ram. So how do we understand that?
That's a mistake. It's not some shortcoming on the part of Ramachandra. It's just he doesn't want to mess up prior to Ramachandra coming. He doesn't want to make, he wants the path to be soft, not filled with thorns. Should we go back? Let's go back. Well, sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. And, oh, there we go. It's choosing to work now. Okay. It is not possible for monkeys to come here. What will Ram, the mighty armed hero, do even after reaching this formidable city of Lanka, ruled by Ravana? There is no scope for it. So he's a minister or a messenger. He's carrying a message from Ram. He knows that Ram's intention is to finish Ravan because he stole Sita, but he doesn't want to make it messy. So what's the path that Ram is going to take? He's considering before he does anything, what's going to facilitate Ram doing what Ram wants to do and will do. It's not. There's some limitation from Ramachandra's side. Okay. Next, 2 more, and then we're done. There we go.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. In one slide, it is mentioned that typically the sadhana or work starts after initiation. So my question is, how do I know that this is the right time to take initiation?
Oh, you know the answer to that. You don't have to wait. You have to prepare yourself, but your question is, how do I know this is the right lifetime? This is the right lifetime. Human form of life. Who knows what the next one's going to be? But, so if you become a tiger or an elephant or a giraffe or a cat or a dog or a monkey or a bird or a microbe or something, you can't take Diksha. No. This lifetime. Prepare yourself with this lifetime. Last question.
Maharaj, this is about the how to question.
Oh.
So the response of how to questions which we get from is Sadhu Sangha.
Yes.
So would you be kind enough to explain how do we receive the Sadhu Sangha, which can address this problem of how to questions?
How to receive is with an open heart. So what precedes Sadhu Sangha? Adau Shraddha. So Krishna is the ultimate source of everything. And when Krishna sees, here's a person that has some faith, little faith, this is the fan the spark thing. So Krishna was going to send a sadhu who was going to fan that little spark. That's when it happens. It's when there's some preliminary faith. Preliminary means just, I want to know. There's another reality, and I want to know what that other reality is. I don't even know what it is, but I want to know what it is. I have some intrinsic faith. There's something higher than this. Sadhu Sangha. And then there's some discrimination. Who's sadhu, who's asadhu. So, then there's scripture. So there's steps. But there's the principle, aside from the steps, is that's what precedes is sadhu sangha, is faith. And then you go the next step, and then faith grows and faith grows and faith grows up to prema. Stages of faith. It's one of the ways of looking at the stages of bhakti, is stages of faith that mature, can, at least potentially. Srila Prabhupada ki. For your information, we got as far as, let's see, about halfway. We made about halfway. So we're going to have more. Let's just hang on. Sit down. So we'll have some more sometime later. We'll see what the schedule says. Now we're going to go up here. There's where we ended. Okay. Okay, let me just close up shop.